Hey there everyone, and welcome to the start of a new video series where I'm going to go through all the dragons, talking about their skills, how they work, and a little bit about the requirements and stuff. So in this series I'm going to start with just this video talking about gold dragons. I'm then going to go through the attacker dragons, tank dragons, and then finally the support dragons. Now throughout this video series I'm going to be referring to this guide which I have on the forum. I call it guide. It's more of my personal notes, which is why I've got this disclaimer at the beginning, because it was me testing all the dragons. Now, all the numbers are gained from my testing. They are not 100% accurate. Some will be wrong. I can pretty much guarantee that. I'm going to try and point out as I go through where I'm not so sure about some of the numbers, but I've tried to be as accurate as possible. I've spent hours and hours testing them over the last few days, and much improved what I wrote originally in this guide 3 years ago. So, in this video, this particular one, I'm going to talk about some of the more general stuff before we get into the specific dragons types and, going through all that stuff. So, for starters, we have these general notes. I'm not going to talk through all of them, I'm just going to point out some of the more obscure ones. So, all the fire dragons, on their basic attacks, they do 50% of the damage as fire, 50% of the damage as non-elemental. All the other dragons, when they attack, they'll do 100% of their element. That's just, for some reason, fire dragons don't do that. It doesn't factor in that much. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that fire dragons are worse at fighting nature than other dragons are when they're facing their strengths, because most of the damage comes from skills rather than basic attacks. So the fact that their basic attacks do, less fire doesn't matter. All the attacker dragons and support dragons, they attack once every 2 seconds. Tank dragons attack double the speed every second. That is a bit of a weird one. Again, no idea. It's just how dragons have always been. And it's why tank dragons were kind of the best originally, weirdly, where skills were all slower and a lot of it was basic attack damage. Anyway, that's how those are. And it's not 100% accurate to those number of seconds. That's just roughly how it is. Dragons will reposition themselves and all that kind of stuff. So if you try and time it yourself, you might be able to get a more accurate number than that. But like I said, basic attacks don't matter so much, only for some dragons. So that's what I went with for that. Attacker dragons and support dragons attack from range, while tank dragons attack in melee. That makes sense. It's just generally how they work. There are a few exceptions with that. There are some which you want to be attacking in certain ways and they're not attacking the right way. We'll talk about that as we're going through specific dragons. And also throughout this guide, and I'm going to be referring to bits of this for every single dragon, I'm going to show their skill description. I use the term basic damage. Now, there are various other gaming terms which are fairly normal, so I'm not going to mention those, but basic damage is what I'm using to refer to the amount of damage that a dragon would do with its normal basic attack. So if we look at Avian Glider here, where this skill deals 2 to 4 times basic damage, that 2 to 4 is training, so at level 1 out of 100, this skill will deal twice what Avian Glider would do with the basic attack, and then at training 100 out of 100, it will do 4 times what Avian Glider will do with a basic attack. It's a really easy way to refer to how much these attacks are doing without giving numbers. It's all relative to the basic attack of the dragon, and it means that if the stats change of the dragon, then these numbers should hopefully all hold true. So that's what I'm going to do as I refer to all these, and like I said, we'll look at these as we go through the specific dragons. The last thing to mention, which I haven't noted here in the general notes, is that the stats of the dragons are relative to their particular type. So support dragons have what were originally the health and damage of dragons, which means they survive reasonably well, they deal reasonable damage, but they're not that good at either one. And then tank dragons, they have double the health, but half the damage, which means that, generally speaking, they do terrible damage, just useless damage. You don't need to worry about their damage at all, but they survive exceptionally well. And then attacker dragons are the opposite, so they have half the health and double the damage, which means that they do really, really nice damage, but they die stupidly easily. Now, it again varies massively on particular dragons. Some attacker dragons will have skills that help them survive, but You know, if there was an attacker dragon which attacked in close range, chances are it's going to die really, really quickly because it just doesn't have the health pool. It has 1/4 of the health compared to a tank dragon. So that's generally how the dragons work. And again, obviously, as we look at specific dragons, we'll go into those. So now we can have a look at the gold dragons. Now there are 6 gold dragons in the game, and chances are you don't have all 6 because they're pretty rare. So there are 3 which are incredibly common: Fortuna, Auric and Lucrix. You can get all of these from Kira. I don't want to talk too much about where you get dragon claws because it will change over time, but these 3 are fairly common. They're the ones people normally get. Victorious you can get from Kira too, but it's much rarer. Historically this has been sort of something you have to spend, like you have to buy gems for to get Victorious claws, so that's a little rarer. Goldfang you can usually pick up in some places, and Pharaoh is the ultimate gold dragon. It is the best one, and you get it from much more obscure places. It's actually not been possible to get for the last few years, so hopefully it will come up soon. It is on Rumble's radar. So anyway, the 6 dragons, ultimately they all work very, very similarly. They all have skills which increase the amount of gold you get. So you can see this in here. You don't need to worry about the stamina and strength skills. They actually stop putting these on the later gold dragons. And each skill pretty clearly says, you know, this one gives up to 800% gold, this one gives up to 900% gold, this one gives up to 1,000, and you know they get bigger in the later skills, which are unlocked at the later qualities. The last one you get at Mythic. So that's how all of them work, and all of them give 6,000 gold in total, apart from Lucrix, which gives 5,000. I believe it's Lucrix that gives, yeah, it's Lucrix that gives 5,000 gold. So it's a little bit less, but Lucrix is the easiest one to get, and we'll talk about that in a second. Pharaoh is unique and the best one because it gives not only 6,000 gold, but also, if I can remember the number, I can't remember the number, 500, 1,000, 2,000 experience as well. So not only is it gold, it also gives you experience, but it's very heavily weighted in the later qualities. So if you can get Pharaoh, it's excellent. It's like, you know, one run just gives you so much gold and so much experience in one go. It's brilliant. So yeah, anyway, that is the best one. And of these dragons as well, the later ones have weightings massively on the higher qualities. So Auric, Fortuna and Lucrix, these 3, I believe they get quite good gold earlier on. But if you look at the skills on Goldfang, this one starts at like 250, 350, 550. Like, you have to get it to the higher qualities to actually get gold from it. So that's the same for Goldfang, Victorious, and Pharaoh. That's the only kind of differences between them. You know, like I say, weighting in the later levels, in the later qualities, Lucrix gives 5,000, and Pharaoh gives the experience. That's how they work with that. Otherwise, they're all pretty similar. So before I talk about the gold and, you know, how you go into practice using these, all the rest of it, I've got a table here which shows how to level them up, because there's a slight difference in leveling them up, and I said I was going to mention this on Lucrix. So if we look at Lucrix's line here, Lucrix actually uses, this is the totals column, the claws and then the silver requirement. We're looking mainly at the claws. So the claws for Lucrix, only 870. This is much less than most of them. Most of them take 1,600 claws, and basically you get Lucrix up to Mythic pretty quickly from Kira. Fortuna, similarly, is 1,000 claws. So Fortuna and Lucrix are usually the most common that people get to Mythic pretty early on, and then it's the other ones which come later. Some of them you have to pick up the claws in awkward ways. That's just generally how they are. I'm talking about 6 dragons at once. Hopefully you can follow all that stuff. But yeah, the silver's not the problem. It's mainly grabbing the claws from places, and like I said, they vary slightly on how much they need. So that's everything about setting them up. Now, what does this gold mean, and how do you use these dragons? These dragons are unique in that they don't have the same cooldowns as other dragons do. Most dragons, when you get them to Mythic, they have a 2-hour cooldown, and that can be reduced with the guild skills down to 1 hour. However, the gold dragons don't get affected by guild skills, and they have just literally 23 hours cooldown. This is 23 hours rather than 24, so they're a little bit easier to keep within that one day. So, you know, if you push it a little bit further one day, then you can pull it back again. Anyway, basically it's once a day you use these dragons on a single run, and they give you a load of gold. I would recommend one dragon per run. Some people say that it's possible to use multiple dragons, stack all the extra gold, and then do that one massive run. But I haven't found that particularly reliable. I don't think it works for all gold dragons, so I would recommend one run per dragon, and each run gives you a load of gold. Now, because we get the 15 runs per day on the gold maps, all that kind of stuff, basically you can log in each day, run your gold dragons, and get a load of gold in one go. Personally, I have 5 of these at Mythic. Pharaoh is the one which I don't have at Mythic, and from my 6 runs which I do, I get about 5 million gold, which each day, that stacks up a lot. I can do events and get event sets really easily with that, and gold dragons are just kind of the thing that makes it much easier to play King's Road just with some short daily logins, rather than having to log in and farm and get loads of gold, run GLPs, all that kind of stuff. If you get gold dragons, it's actually almost better than having your gold find really high, because it doesn't matter about your gold find, it just gives you a chunk of gold every single day. So they're one of the best additions to the game for that style of play. Just log in for a bit, play, you got your stuff done. So that's generally how they work, and in terms of the specifics of what they do, this extra gold they're giving you, what that actually is gold find. So if we go into a map, I can show you exactly what I mean, and you may have heard about the dungeon set, I can't actually show it, but anyway, the dungeon set which gives you extra gold drops. There are 2 different stats here, there's gold find and gold drops. Gold drops, what it does is when you kill an enemy, the enemy will drop additional gold, additional piles of gold. So normally an enemy will drop 1 pile, but then if you have 75% gold drops, it means that there's a chance 75% chance they'll drop a second pile. Additional gold, or gold find, as we like to call it, that increases the amount each pile of gold gives you. So if it gave you 100, and then I've got this additional gold 160%, it will instead give me 260, because it's multiplying it by 2.6. So those 2 numbers kind of multiply each other, because if you have double the gold drops and you get double the amount from each gold pile, then you get effectively 4 times, because you get the 2 piles and each one of them is giving you double. So that distinction is very important to note, because these gold dragons give you additional gold, and so rather than if you're making the decision, if you're early on in the game, you don't have high gold find, and the gold find trinkets are better for you than the gold dropped trinkets, then actually for gold dragons you definitely want to use the gold drop trinkets, because they will multiply what you're getting from the dragon by 1.75 times. Also, GLPs, both the solo pots and the group pots, they add to gold drops rather than gold find. So the solo pot gives you 150% extra, the group pot gives you 200% extra. So if you stack those together, if you have the gold drops trinkets and also the GLP, you get 3.75 times the gold drops. And then if you use, say, we use Auric here, you'll see in my stats page, I now have, oh, did I not properly train this one? Oh, maybe I didn't. Anyway, what this should have added was 6,000. I think I missed and didn't train a skill. Anyway, it should add 6,000 here. So then that 6,000, which is like 60 times the gold you're getting, is then going to get multiplied by that 3.75 times from the GLP and the gold drops trinkets. So that's really where you can stack up the gold lots. And I was saying just a few minutes ago about how each day you can log in, you can run your gold dragons, and in a few runs you get loads of gold. If you do those few runs while on a GLP, you will get basically double that gold. It's really good for just logging and doing that, and it's why you'll see a lot of people begging to be part of a party to run their gold dragons each day. But that is pretty much how gold works in King's Road. If you have the gold dragons, it will sort you out for a lot of things. It's just when you want to do festivals and have masses of gold to do things that you need to have high gold find to then be able to actually farm gold quickly. So I'm going to do this here because you'll see as I kill enemies, I'm only getting 1 pile of gold from each enemy. I just wanted to show that for sure. So you can see I'm getting 1 pile. It's increasing the gold find, not the gold drops. But if I were to use a GLP, which we can actually go ahead and use that now, I will do that just for the example of this. Then we'll see that we'll get 2 2 piles. Sorry, 3 piles, because this increases it by 200%. So as this enemy dies, we should see 3 piles of gold coming off it. Yeah, well, you'll see it. You know, as you see more. Yeah, there's another 3 piles there. 3 piles there. So that's what's happening with the gold find and the gold drops. Hope it's clear enough. And these dragons are really good for the gold find. So that's basically everything there. Oh yeah, last thing to mention actually with Pharaoh. So Pharaoh increases your effectively experience find. So you see here the additional experience stat. Now, very similarly, the potions for extra experience increase your experience drops. Now, there's no specific stat for that. It's not like you're getting multiple piles or something like that. But this particular one, the group one, increases by 200%. Sorry, 250%. Is it 250? Yeah, 250%. And the solo pot increases by 200%. And that will similarly multiply by your experience find. So Pharaoh increases your experience find. No. I just realized it doesn't. Sorry, correction. It increases your experience drops. So it's like using a potion, but a potion that gives you 1,000% extra rather than that group one which gives you 250. Sorry for the mistake there, but anyway, that's how it works. So it's 1,000% in total. I know this. So my Pharaoh right now, it has this power skill, but it doesn't have any other one which gives experience. And I have this level 100, and because it gives me 200% for the run when I have Pharaoh out, it's effectively like using one of those little mini experience potions for the run, giving me triple experience for that run. So anyway, that's everything on the gold dragons. I hope it's been clear enough, and they're exciting. The gold dragons are the best to get, I would say. Dragons are not necessary for the game, but the gold dragons help you play the game so well. So make sure you focus on the gold dragons. Most people do, and try and pick them up when you can. Get them up to the high qualities. The ones which require high qualities, really make sure you pick up claws for those. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of this series. We're going to be going in with the attacker dragons next. So yeah, look forward to that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.